touching the matter in issue.
Touching the matter in issue.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Honorable Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, you're a fourth-term member of this House. You've been the immediate past Minister for Education. You've appeared before this committee. You've been a member of this committee 12 years previously. This is your 13th year.
Environment, science and technology, health, special budgets in this House. Mr. Chairman, everything that I want to say or add is already on my CV, so I'll keep it like that. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, okay.
Honorable Fulera, you may ask your one question of the minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Honorable Nominee. I have one question, and I'm interested in local content in the energy sector. The local content participation in the Ghanaian energy sector has been growing steadily over the years. I'm wondering, though, whether there is any way that in the event that you are confirmed, what you will do to increase this steady growth in this area to enable more Ghanaians participate in this industry so that we can help grow the economy locally.
Thank you, Chair. I think the energy industry has a lot of the legislation needed to enable local content, like you said. Our energy industry, Mr. Speaker, Chairman, is not a very old industry. And we need to facilitate the training of Ghanaian businesses to be able to participate in the industry. Our understanding of local content is just supplying food or water, but owning the assets and the resources as well. And we collectively as a country must endeavor to ensure that most people are trained and trained well and certified to be able to play our industry. And government as well must support Ghanaians in owning part of these resources that the good Lord has given us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Honorable Yabon.
Thank you very much, Minister. Congratulations, Minister. The first question is on Tema Oil Refinery, which is a national asset saddled with indebtedness and some inefficiencies in its operations. Petrol and diesel refined at all currently has a high sulfur content of about 1,500 ppm, as against the world standard of 50 ppm or lower. It currently operates at a lower capacity than the 45,000 barrels per day because of the fire outbreak in 2017. What is your assessment of the refinery as Minister Designate, and when approved, God willing, what will you do to change the situation at all? Thank you.
Thank you. Before even this noble house passes the to be able to assume the position of a Minister of Energy. TOR and its crippling debts, and its money, infrastructure issues, equipment issues, it's all over. And we need, as a country, to only know one thing. Since the Fourth Republic, every president has talked about value addition of our natural resource. It just so happens that the last natural resource the good Lord gave us, which is oil, we already have a refinery to be able to add value. But since, interestingly, since we started mining oil commercially, the refinery seems to be losing its ability to do its work. So we should collectively, apart from the debt overhang, which is nearly $250 million, we should collectively decide that we don't want to lose TOR. We have to find the right partnerships, managerial, infrastructure, equipment, to enable TOR to work, and also invite other refineries into the system to make it even better. But like you said, the challenges are everywhere. People owe them, they are not able to collect. They owe them, they also owe people who are on their necks trying to even take part of their business. So we have to collectively sit down, and if I'm passed by your noble house, it is one of the most engaging situations on our hands.
Thank you. Ghana and the USA, through the Millennium Compact Agreement, introduced the PSP into our electricity distribution. PDS was the winner of the tender process and took over ECG. But this takeover was abrogated by government. Do you believe in the private sector participation in our electricity distribution? And when approved, will you start a new process to return ECG to be run by a private company? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Since the year 2000 or 2001, every government that has been formed in this country has tackled the ECG menace or ECG saga with a privatization in mind, from President Kufuor, President Mills, President Mahama, and then Nabila Akufo-Addo. All of them have used one type of privatization, external entities probably owning from the top ECG and managing ECG. There are different aspects of privatization we also probably have to look at. Outsourcing the last mile of ECG might be a workable one, and also making sure that when it gets into the hands of Ghanaians, we manage it well. We have privatized, like you just said, to PDS, and I just heard honorable members talking about the amount of money PDS was able to collect, even still having our money. But when you go there now, one of the problems is lack of resources for them to work, especially money. So maybe we have to tackle the privatization differently and invite private sector players on the last bell and see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, the last one is on electricity tariff. In most developed countries, industries pay less for electricity and residential facilities do pay more. In Ghana, the reverse is the case. This has made the energy cost to industries very high and their products and services less competitive. With the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, Ghanaian companies have to compete with companies that have cheaper energy costs. When approved as minister, what will you do to help Ghanaian industries to be competitive in that sector? Thank you. That's my last question, Chairman.
Thank you. Energy is the lifeblood of every industrialized country, or a country that needs to industrialize or wants to or intends to industrialize. If we don't solve our energy crisis in the form of huge debts, we would not progress, especially as you mentioned, we are now members of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The factors of production are the same everywhere. And if you have your neighboring countries even beating you to it as to the cost of energy, then you are in dire straits. So we have to look. When you look at our tariffs, we probably have the highest tariff in the West Africa region. But all the companies are complaining that they don't get enough and that the tariff is not cost reflective. Meanwhile, at the end here, we seem to charge higher than anybody. So we really have to unbundle the tariff situation, make it more transparent, and see the factors that are contributing to lack of resources for the sector to help us. Thank you.
Yes, Eric. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, on March 2019, the government of the Republic of Ghana, under the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, caused ECG to hand over the management and operations of its power distribution to PDS. 5 months later, precisely on the 30th of July 2019, the government suspended the contract with PDS on the basis of their inability to provide proper payment security as provided in the concession agreement. What, in your view, prevented the government of Ghana, under the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, from exhaustively examining all the relevant documents before handing over such valuable assets to PDS, and what was the economic cost to Ghana?
Thank you. I might not be able to tell you the economic cost in the sense that I don't know of any losses in the interim in that 8 months. But like everything else, if the marriage doesn't work, partners may leave. And if false pretenses might have gained you a favor, if it is found, you are punished for it. I'm sure if Ghana was supposed to give certain conditions or fulfill certain conditions, and Ghana couldn't have or was not able to do it, PDS would be the first to have run to court. We shouldn't take it lightly that the accusation of representing your payment guarantee with a false note, if it is correct, it's a grievous sign as telling somebody that you own a building that is not yours to go and secure a loan. So I have to settle down there when you pass me to really interrogate the matter that happened. I wouldn't like to give a hasty remark or conclusion or answer to yours because you deserve better. So please pass me and I'll get back to you.
Honorable nominee, you are being moved. You were at the Ministry of Education. Now you are heading to the Ministry of Energy, a ministry that is wallowing in debt. You recall, in November 2020, the independent power producers entreated government to pay 80% of the 1 billion debt. Otherwise, their businesses will collapse. You recall that during the erstwhile NDC government, Parliament of the Republic of Ghana passed the Energy Sector Levy Act and imposed taxes intentioned to pay off the debt. Your government, on assumption of office, securitized receivables from the energy sector levy for 15 years to pay off the debt. But as we speak, we are aware that the debt is ballooning, and we are told that if we are not careful, by 2023, it will be difficult to even run the sector. In fact, as we speak, the sector, in terms of debt, is verging on collapse. How do you propose to resuscitate this very important sector to engender economic growth in the coming years?
Thank you. Basically, the problem is this. If all the monies that we pay for our utility bill is given to the providers of the service, the distributors, the wheelers or transmitters, the energy producers, and their fuel cost, we don't collect enough to meet our requirements. And like I said to the honorable member, at the end of the selling point, we pay more than everybody in this country, in the West African sub-region. But from the beginning point, we seem to have higher costs than everybody as well. The pay or take contracts, the excess power that we pay for in a year, which we don't consume, is more than $500 million. So we need to, like I said, sit down passionately with everybody, unbundle everything, expose ourselves to IPPs, the transmitters, and sit down and say, hey, if we don't change, we don't reform, we don't agree on certain parameters, we would all collapse. We will all collapse. It's frankly so. Like you said, by 2023, if nothing else dramatically is done, the debt situation will hit 12.5 billion. And it's serious. So we have to sit down, cool heads with everybody. You cannot overfeed, oversuckle, or you can't produce more milk than energy you can take in. So we have to look at it. If you pass me, it is one of the issues that I think we all have to think about.
The cost of acquiring a meter from ECG is very high in the rural communities. I recall when, in November, somebody contacted me to ensure that he gets a meter. Contacted. I engaged the officers in charge, and the cost was estimated around 600 Ghana cedis. How can an ordinary Ghanaian in the rural community be able to afford this, knowing very well that impressive and effective economic life is anchored on electricity? If you don't have electricity, life is something else. What do you think can be done to make some of these basic things affordable to the ordinary Ghanaian?
Thank you. I think we have to think about things differently. We have been buying meters from those who sell meters. Some companies produce here, some also import the meters. ECG or Ministry of Energy buys these meters, and they are not able to buy enough. What about we thinking, changing things differently? Zoning various big areas and giving it on concession basis to meter providers. Asking them to provide the meter for all the place and get their charges through the prepayment system. Definitely. We have to think about the solutions differently, because the situation that has existed in the last 20 years is not working. And that solution is simply ECG or Ministry of Energy buying, and they never have enough to buy, money enough to buy, enough to stop, to fulfill their obligations. And it's not working. So we have to think about different ways of getting the meters. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, Honorable Abdul.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable, congratulations. I think in your earlier statement, when the first speaker put a question on you on our energy efficiency, you underscored the fact that with our current industrialization drive, there is the need to have the right energy mix and it should be efficient. May I know your stand on the addition of nuclear energy to Ghana's energy mix? Nuclear.
My stand.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't think my stand matters very much here because the government of the Republic of Ghana since 2000, when the Ajay Committee was commissioned by President Kufuor, every government that has come has promoted or pushed the agenda of nuclear power. We currently are at a stage that we've gone past the first stage where we have produced a comprehensive baseline report. Currently, I'm informed that where we are, we must select a vendor. The selection of the vendor may mean so many things. It will decide on the technology, and it will decide on the training that we can give Ghanaians to come and manage the system. And there's a lag phase with that, because the training takes some time. So if we don't select the vendor clearly and very early, it will delay the progress. But I think that we are at a time when we've all decided that probably we should try nuclear power. It is the safest and cleanest form of energy.
Thank you very much. Honorable nominee, the discovery of oil in commercial quantities have actually attracted a number of Ghanaians, both home and abroad, to pursue courses in oil and gas. My observation is the supply side far exceeds the demand, either because they don't acquire the right skills in oil and gas, or the market size is too small to absorb them. Honorable Minister Designate, if you share in my observation, if given the nod, how do you intend to address this inequality in the sector to ensure that Ghanaians trained in oil and gas will have enhanced opportunities to secure jobs? Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think we are at a stage where the supply side and demand sides are going in opposite direction. I do recall at Ministry of Education realizing that over 1,000 Ghanaians were trained in oil and gas. I do know that the oil and gas capacity building project contract is still going on. What we may have to understand is that a lot of people train in oil and gas, but not in the right areas where they can get probably employment. And the capacity building program, accelerated capacity building program in the oil and gas industry, probably hasn't also done much for us. I know of a lot of technical institutions and universities that the oil and gas sector has supported. But to be truth be told, nobody will go and put a welder on his rig, $1 billion rig, who is not certified. And that certification is just like professionalization courses. The fact that your institution is not accredited, when you go there and get the best training, you wouldn't have the certificate to enable you to participate in the industry. So I think discussions must be had that we might need a dedicated institution that will resource with the right equipment, but also get the necessary accreditation for that industry or for that institution. Other than that, the jobs that are there, that are always there, will be played by foreigners. And Ghanaians will not enjoy, irrespective of the local content. If you don't have the certification, you cannot enjoy. So that is one area we have to do, getting accredited institutions to train and certify the right people for the industry.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Designate. What I want to follow up with is the question that what exactly will you do to ensure that we get the right, people pursue the right discipline and then the certification that you require?
Thank you. I'm coming from one ministry where the government agenda was a technical vocational education and training, and this necessary certification. So I'll work with the industry to get the right accreditation in-house. There are big institutions that have provided certified training, like Siemens. If you do get a Siemens accredited facility here, then everybody who is going through that facility will get the right certification. As we speak, we don't have anything like that, and that is where the disjunct is. And that is what we must pursue. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Agaga.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, Chairman. My question flows directly from Article 35(7) of the Constitution. That provision makes it imperative for governments to continue and execute projects and programs commenced by previous governments. Now, I'd like to relate this to electricity coverage in our country. Specifically, the Upper East region is lagging behind in terms of connectivity to the national grid. And so in 2014, 2015, 2016, conscious efforts was made to connect communities in our part of the country to the national grid. I can cite numerous examples. If you go to the Bulsa North constituency where I'm MP, several communities were beginning to see some progress in terms of works that were being done. And then in 2016, power changed and the new Patriotic Party government took over the reins of government. Since then, works have stalled. From 2016 till date. Now, Dr. Prempeh, if you get the nod, what do you intend to do to ensure that abandoned projects in the Upper East region sees the day of light? I am particularly concerned because the record of this government for the past 4 years in terms of electricity coverage has not been too impressive. We added only about 1.3% to our national average. If we just oppose that with the achievements we chalked from 2008, we're at 56%, but by 2016, the figure shot up to about 83%. What that means is that we need some policy orientation when you get to the ministry to ensure that we achieve universal coverage in the country. So what do you intend to do?
Thank you, honorable colleague. I wouldn't like to describe it as a government's abysmal or a government's behavior. I come from a region where 4 years ago there was an electrification project going on in certain areas, where 4 years it has stalled. Yes, in Ashanti region, just as Upper East region, rural electrification projects have stalled. It's not because government intends. It's because the more you electrify, you leave out the harder to reach areas where it is very difficult to reach because you go and there are only 5 huts and it's a very far distance also to go. So we need to mobilize more and we need to introduce in the meantime off-grid programs to support those programs till we can electrify over these long areas. When I spoke to NEDCO, 64% of their customers are on lifeline, really meaning electricity is just one light up for I don't know, for sleeping or something. So NEDCO is dead in that it doesn't get even the resources from its operation, and it covers seriously wide areas than even in the south. So we have to look at introducing upgrade solutions to some of these rural communities and gradually take electricity. From 2000, as far as we recall in this house, all our electrification, or most of our electrification projects, have been done through loans, or what we call the SHEP, self-help electrification projects. And government hasn't stopped it so far. But sometimes prices and things affect these programs, and contractors are not able to deliver as they promised in these contracts. So we'll have to look at it and make sure.
Chairman, sorry. So, Minister, currently we are 83%. We must have a national ambition to achieve 100%. When you become minister, will you work towards the attainment of universal access to electricity, particularly taking cognizance of Wiaga, Sandema, Wale area?
Exactly my response, yes.
You're done. Very well.
Chairman, we're going to ask the minister how many years? We are 83%, we are in 2021. Give us a time period that Ghanaians should expect that as minister, you would have achieved universal access to rural electrification, up in the 83%, time limits.
I think universal access for electricity is part of our goals, the sustainable development goals. But it may not necessarily be great electricity or great energy. As I said, it includes a lot of solar systems. The first 2 megawatt solar system was in Upper East, around Navrongo. So the different mix, that's what we are heading towards by energy for all by 2030.
Yes, Honorable Susu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable nominee, one of the general criticisms of your party by watchers and partakers in the industry has been that in the last 4 years, you have not been able to embark on any major project that is aimed at adding some megawatts of power to the existing capacity that we have in the country. Now, the only major effort that has begun is when government signed $200 million agreement to construct a 100 megawatts tidal power plant at Ada for 24 months with sea base. However, as at today, no activity has been undertaken to realize this promise that your government undertook to begin. Can you assure the people of Ghana and indeed this committee that when confirmed, you would take some definite steps to adding to our generation capacity?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, in the last 4 years, our problem has not been generation capacity. In fact, we have plants that are ready to produce here that we don't even consume. We have about 5.2 gigawatts of installed power that at peak time using less than 3 gigawatts. The problem to encourage more people to come into the system to generate is also to ensure that you generate at the rate we can pay for. And it's all part of what we have to do as the energy sector. Because if nobody would come to put a plant there, when others' plants are not working because of high cost, and also they claim they are not getting the cost-reflective tariffs. So we have to, like I said, the word I want to use is to unbundle the whole power sector and start from the first basis and reconstruct it, including probably renegotiating of our pay or take, or pay and take tariffs and everything else.
Are there some timelines?
That's why I'm saying that in the next 3 years, we are not short of generation. That is even in situ. But by 2025, we should be generating and adding more of the mixture too. We have abundance of fuel in the west part of the country that belongs to Ghana. But still, we are marked in bad contracts that we have to renegotiate. And I'm sure as soon as, and it's already started, I'm not the one going to start it. It's already started already. And once we get on top of that, I think Ghana can be a net exporter of even energy in the ECOWAS sub-region.
Honorable Gisela, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A lot of towns and villages without good community lighting are a breeding ground for crimes and other vices.
Go closer to the mic, please.
I'm doing so. A lot of towns and villages without good community lighting are a breeding ground for vices and other miscreant activities and are generally unsafe. Occasionally, streetlights are shared before elections as enticements to the populace for votes. Some are stored, some are removed when people do not vote for the people who offered them. What will be your pragmatic policy direction on street lighting in the country, especially to curb crimes and so on?
We have to look at the street lighting issue. The distribution companies claim we don't pay enough for street lights. That's their first complaint. 2, street lights are not metered. And they don't know how much they consume. And 3, the levy for street lighting is not given enough. 4, the distribution companies basically are not involved in doing the street lighting projects, but are asked to maintain. They claim it doesn't help them plan very well in the new settlements or peri-urban settlements on how to engage it. We have to look at the whole street lighting. In Accra or Kumasi, we always see cars repairing street lights and changing street lights and street bulbs. And within a few weeks or months, the streets are done. I don't really know if it's I think it was President Mahama who lighted the N1 motorway, and within a twinkle of an eye, all the lights, bulbs were gone. I don't know.
Minister, have you found out what went wrong?
Is that
within a twinkle of an eye, all the lights were off?
Yes, we're slowly.
Have you found out before coming here what happened?
No, that's what I'm saying, that okay. We have to sit down when I get
I have information to share.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Steal the key.